With the story of the Nublar 6 officially coming to a conclusion with Season 4 of Chaos Theory, let's dive in and talk about Season 4. Hey guys, welcome back to the Prehistoric Life podcast. I'm your host, Eric Crawford, and usually I do these Jurassic Legacy episodes with Jack O'Hara, but there will be one of those coming. Just give it due time. So yeah, let's just dive on into this. Spoiler warning for later on, but we're going to start out. Season 4 is out for Chaos Theory. It is following the Nublar 6 as they go back into Biosyn Valley. So we get to see their adventures in Biosyn Valley following the events after the Malta incident in Dominion. We get to actually see the Biosyn Valley incidents in Dominion from their point of view, which is then it tells a different story. Of course, you don't see Owen or Claire or Ian or Grant or Sattler, any of those. You don't see any of them, or Maisie. We get to see some of the dinosaurs and pterosaurs. We get to see the Quetzalcoatlus, Giga, and Therizinosaurus come back and get to show off some more just them. We get to see more of them. It's pretty much it for that. But within that, we get to follow them on their story through where they have to come back together because they split up at the end of last season. You get to see relationships intermingle, yada, yada. Okay. 2 minutes, 40 seconds in. Spoiler warning. Woo! Spoilers. All right, so I'm going to go through episode by episode and just break down with what I saw. So starting with episode 1, at the very beginning, we get to see more species in the valley. Compy, Brachiosaurus, Parasaurolophus. We do not see Dreadnoughtus once in this, which I am kind of disappointed in because that was kind of one of the big differences between Biosyn and the other ones, that they had Dreadnoughtus. And it's a different sauropod than Brachiosaurus. Then you get the Quetzalcoatlus showing up. And you just see it in the distance for the first time as its wings are out. They're like, what is that? And then it flaps, and they're like, oh, crap. Which also leads me to ask, why is there airspace like that to begin with? And the deterrent seems manual, like something somebody has to switch on, which seems like a really bad idea. It should just be on, considering you probably have helicopters and things just flying in and out constantly. So why is it a manual thing? It seemed manual. It may not have been. Another thing, these are your like drones, your own drones. Why are they flying in an airspace where the Quetzalcoatlus can attack them? It just all seemed really weird to me. Then you get to, that's Ben, Darius, Yaz, Brooklyn. Then you see Kenji, Sammy, and Smoothie in the car where Kenji's talking about, wow, why doesn't Gaia have Gia, not Gaia, sorry, have a shock prod or trank darts or whatever, which makes sense. And he says he has an ice pick or an ice scraper. And then you see Dodson show up. And you're like, oh, yeah, he's back. We want to see some more Dodson. the whole time Kenji was like seething at Dodson. I was like, is he gonna kill him with the ice scraper? Then we get the T-Rex show up. You get to see the T-Rex actually get introduced into Biosyn. He shows up and gets put into Biosyn. And then this was foreshadowing T-Rex versus Giga. Will they battle or learn to coexist? That they dropped that line. And then we cut back to then we actually get to see it cuts back. And Santos's helicopter is landing and there's just no one there. So there's just like random helicopter lands and a bunch of random people get out. I guess if she is like an underground mafia boss lady, you probably shouldn't be like, oh yeah, we're bringing criminals in. All your employees would be like, no, let's not do that. That seems like a really bad idea. But I guess I can forgive that. So, and then you have them kind of cut back to, and then you have all of them getting out of the helicopter, trying to sneak into the place. And then you get Ben drops the banger line about feathers and scales actually coming from similar tissue, which isn't completely inaccurate if dinosaurs have feathers and scales. They did kind of lineage from each other. Then we come back to the other one. What did the T-Rex snarl at? You get the Giga, it busts out, and they fight, they clash. You get Kenji yelling. Or no, it's just snarling. Then the dino cuts back. The dino cult guy. Ben's quick thinking on the DLN situation. He's like, I'm an investor, and I love what the DLN was doing. Ben clutching in with the quick thinking habanero, I should say, as they called him. Then you have Brooklyn just being hella toxic throughout this entire season, in my opinion. Manipulating Ernest was his name. Just treating him like dog water. Just manipulating him. And then calling him Dino Nerd in front of Darius. Like, dude. I'm sorry for Darius. He deserves way better. Like, seriously. Brooklyn was just... I did not like her character this season. She was just... No, I did not like her character. Then we cut back to Kenji and the other one. Kenji's like, we want to buy Bumpy. Let's get Bumpy out. Dodson's like, no, businessman. And then Kenji's like, I'm going to blackmail you. I know about your illegal operations in Death Raptors. Or not Death Raptors, but Pyroraptor. It escaped. And anybody it killed, whether it's 1 or 0, it's still 1 too many. So you're going to give us Bumpy, or, then you get the Giga bust through the opening. Seeing Rexy, it's just like standing there like the Spinosaurus and JP3, and they start clashing, Rexy and the Giga. Then you get Kenji kind of standing in the way between Dodson and the fight because Dodson really wanted to see it. He's like, you're going to get me what I want now. And then the Giga wins, humiliating Rexy. Better entrance than Dominion, in my opinion. And in my opinion, this was a hell of a first episode for the last season. Already starting off with a banger. We're bringing the DLN back. Brooklyn being toxic. You're getting their relationship and all of them. They're in Biosyn. And then we already have Giga and Rexy, Gigantosaurus and Rexy, because I'm going to call it Gigantosaurus because that's how you actually put it. We get the Quetz in the first episode. It already just starting off. Now we're going on to episode 2. 9 episodes before. And it opens with the Dilophosaurus, or episode 1 ends with Kenji and Sammy being ditched in the Biosyn Valley, and they're like, Dodson set us up. He's trying to kill us. Which I thought was an interesting plot choice. So, I mean, there was that. I think that was pretty cool. If I look over here, I am looking at my notes that I did take for this season. Was the last season, so I thought I'd do it practically. So episode 2 opens with the Dilophosaurus pack hunting. We were going to see a lot of Dilophosaurus in this, and I loved it. It was pack hunting a Parasaurolophus when the Giganosaurus burst out, and it's like, get out of here, roar, the cameo. Yeah. And then we get an Ian Malcolm mention when they're like, oh, yeah, you just missed Malcolm. And it's like, what? He's real? We're acknowledging him? Cool. And then there's 10 sublevels. We only see 2, 10 and 6. I want to know what's on the other, is that 8 sublevels? I mean, I guess we see sublevel 1. I guess we don't see. Actually, I don't even think we see sublevel 1. I don't even know how that works. So there's 10 sublevels. They make the joke about Ernest replacing Kenji, how he's acting like old school Kenji. And I was like, is Ernest going to be a permanent addition to the team? I'm kind of hoping not, because Ernest was kind of an idiot in the first couple episodes. Really incompetent, just like, he keeps getting his thing just to throw it to opens, and it just doesn't. And it's like, dude, bro, it didn't work the first 50 times. What are you doing? And then Brooklyn ditches him by faking, I guess, phantom pain or something. I really don't know what she was faking. And swipes the little wrist thing, and then just like is able to just like, I press some buttons. Now I can get anywhere. It's like, that seems like a serious, like a severely serious, like, safety flaw. And then you get Brooklyn like, Darius, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done this. And Darius is like, you're an a-hole. You're rude. You're mean. Stop it. No. Bad. Darius is rightfully mad at Brooklyn because she's, faking everyone out at this point, being extremely rude, extremely manipulative. Then you get Ben and Yaz in the elevator like, oh, they're arguing. And then you get Ben like, all right, Darius, let's take this sub-level. You two take the sub-level below that one. And then this episode, we get Kenji saying Lewis's name for the first time, Lewis Dodgson. He's like, all right, Lewis. Kenji was on some kind of timing in this series. The tunnel going zip, foreshadowing to his death. Oh, they're actually not in the paddock yet. Yes, that's it. Lewis setting them up with the asset, where he's like, you can go get your asset over there. And I was like, yeah, he's going to try and kill him. Brooklyn not listening to any of them, to Darius, because he's kind of a rude wiener. I kind of hate Brooklyn this season so far. She was just kind of really rude the whole time, and she's like, makes it like, I can't work with all this drama, but like literally all of the drama stems from her. Like literally all of it. It's her fault. And she's like, I can't work with all this drama. Maybe don't fake your death and show up and manipulate everyone around you. I don't know what to tell you. It's kind of your fault. We do get to see more young Atrociraptors. We get Darius talking to Ben about how he's upset about Brooklyn manipulating everyone and being rude and all this other stuff. And she comes around the corner and is like, oh, he's saying that about me? What? But Darius is just like, good. You heard that. Good. He doesn't say that, but it's like face says it all. I'm reading body language here. Then the dino training is on sub-level 10. Conveniently, it's Theropod Access, I think is what they called it. Theropod Access Training Facility, yeah. Gary's just looking straight peed off the whole time. We get to see more Atrociraptors. I think they had 4 in the little cage that they go hide in, then 2 out, so there's 6 in total. Then we cut back to Sammy and Kenji. They're actually in the Biosyn Valley at this point. They're talking, yada yada. They get found by some Dilophosaurs, if I'm not mistaken. The tablet gets broken. Is that this point? Yeah, I think that's this point. Dilophosaurs show up. Sammy hits them with the tablet. Kenji single-handedly just fending them off. I mean, like, hang on. I'm going to try and show this without any audio. Let me see if I can do that. Chasing you just single-handedly suplexed one of us and beat the crap out of the others. So then they're walking a little bit. Sammy's like, I'm sorry for being weird. Whatever. I can't lead us to the tunnels. I broke the tablet. This part I was kind of like, is Bumpy going to save them from the Dilophosaurus? And then I saw Kenji moving that way, and I was like, Bumpy doesn't need to save them. Kenji was moving. He was vile against those Dilophosaurus. And then we get to see the theropod access training. You get the one Atrociraptor trying to go after the compy. The other one just jumps on the walls, and I was like, somebody's cooked. Somebody is really cooked. And then it jumps on the laser pointer thing because they're training with a laser pointer. I deemed this one Goldie, that the Atrociraptor. I don't know what its name actually was, so I just called it Goldie since it was gold. And it starts leading all the others as it kills the 2 scientists in the thing. But we also get Sammy acting weird, but she's talking to Kenji all weird, and Kenji's like, we get to see actual character. He's like, I'm so sorry I had to act that way back with Lewis. That's not who I am. I never want to be like my dad. I'm not a ruthless businessman. It was a front I had to put on because I know he wouldn't have trusted us any other way. I'm so sorry you had to see that. Sammy's like, no, that's not why I'm upset. And he's like, oh, cool. Still sorry, but why are you upset then? And we kind of get that interaction between those two. This isn't this episode yet. Hang on. I'm a little ahead of myself. Where somebody's like, I'm not actually talking to my parents because of the money, because of Biosyn. They keep going with shady corporations. And I don't like that. Brooklyn knowing the Atrociraptors, where she's like, this one's not going to kill us. And they're like, why? It hasn't been told yet. I was like, that's crazy. Using copies as mice is interesting. Names of new Atrociraptors. Do we get any new Atrociraptor names? Drop some down below. We already named Goldie the golden one because I was like, yeah. Goldie Atrociraptor jumps on a wall. Was cold. Name dropping Woo for exposition, and he shows up later. They get in the Atrociraptors fight. They make them fight each other. Goldie is definitely the new like ghost in red. Attacking the laser, knowing it will make them violent, was interesting. There was no subsection shutdown. It was just able to break through the glass. There's nothing where they're like, boop, metal plate, which I thought was like, what is with all these people and just crappy security shutdown systems? Then you get the laser pointed around, and all the Atrociraptors kind of look at the kids for a while, and I was like, were the kids marked with the laser at this point? Goldie is smart and badass. Darius doesn't like Brooklyn anymore. Are we sure? I'm feeling like the whole time he's kind of building up to like I still love you, and it was going to be weird. Called it. Lewis tried to kill Kenji and Sammy, sends them up to the area. episode. At this point, I was the episodes feel really short. I don't know if it was just me, but like we're getting a hell of a build up. Episode 3, the Dilophosaurus intro. Bumpy is going to save them, is what I was thinking. Are the Dilophosaurs not immune to their own venom because one gets sprayed in the face by the other venom, and that's how Sammy and Kinji are able to escape the first time? And I was like, I also named the Dilophosaurus that spat on the other one Daryl, because I could imagine the other one being like, "Dang it, Daryl, you spat on me. I don't like that." This is where we get Brooklyn being like, I can't work with all this drama, even though she's literally the center of the drama. So she has no right to complain. She kind of needs to shut up when she was saying that. Calling the other 3 complicated is wild with what she was done, because she was like, y'all are so complicated to work with. Ben's like, we're here to help you. You think you're death and joined basically a cult, dinosaur release cult, then became a black market saleswoman. Where they're the complicated ones. And then they go to subsection 6 for, I'm guessing, Nublar 6. We just get Ben being a chill dude the whole time. Then the alarm goes off, and they're like, "What's it? What's that? What's that alarm?" And it's like, dude, you literally just watched Atrociraptors break out and kill people. Why would you think they'll? And they're like, "Is it for us? Is it because we're down here?" Dude, like, you saw an Atrociraptor break out and kill people. No, it's not for you. Then we get this was just my thought the entire time. Why does nobody recognize the Nublar 6? I think it would be like international news, and especially within this world. It's not like they're going just like some random pop concert and being like, where are the Nublar 6? They're like in the dinosaur world still. I feel like people would be like, aren't you Darius? Aren't you Ben? Aren't you Yasmina? Aren't you Brooklyn? Aren't you Sammy? Aren't you Kinji? Aren't you those famous kids that survived on Isla Nublar for like a year? Then we get to actually our first look at Wu, and he looks like how he does, longer hair, more older face. Then they're like, assets out of containment on subsection 6. I was like, ooh, I think I remember this in the movie. Is that Beta, Blue and Beta, that are assets out of containment? Because they're saying there's 2. Or is it the little girl Maisie Lockwood? Is it Beta and Lit Maisie? Because they were brought into the subsections in Dominion. Are they the assets out of containment? And then they have the whole build up with Kinji being like, I need to do right by the baby. And Kyla's about baby Smoothie. So I was like, maybe Kinji won't die. Because they had the whole thing where they're like, somebody's going to die in this season. I was like, oops, somebody's dying. And I was like, maybe it's not Kinji. Because originally me and Jack both were like, yeah, I think it's going to be Kinji. But maybe it's not because of the baby boy. Or maybe he will lay down his life for Smoothie, was my thoughts at this point. And, of course, the tablet was smashed. Duh. And then I was thinking, like, okay, we're back on subsection 6. The assets out of containment can't be the Atrociraptors because they're on sub-level 10. How did they make it up the sub-levels so quickly if it is them? It has to be Beta or Maisie or whoever it was on that sub-level that broke out during that time. Or maybe it's the Locust or something crazy. Wu asking for, and then Brooklyn just appearing behind Wu, she's like, oh crap. And she's like, do you remember me? I'm here to kill you, Batman. Yada yada. Pulling him into the office, closing the door, and it's like, I'm going to make you suffer for all that. And then Wu's like, I need your help to stop this, asking to help stop it. It actually matches his character in Dominion because he was kind of done with all of it and was like, yeah, I'm done with the whole dinosaur thing. I'm tired of people just ripping everything apart and being stupid. They're like, we need you to get rid of the theropod access trading file in this random outpost. I got to go take care of the locust. so he doesn't mention the locust. Then we get back and we confirm Kenji has a word of the day calendar. And Kenji was like, "Do you need help reading the map? You know, I'm really good with math." And Kenji, and then Sammy really pulls the, "Is it because I'm a girl" card? And he's like, "No, it's because we've been walking in circles for like 5 hours." Then we get like this. I noticed this Kenji and Brooklyn parallel between them. Kenji is a good person, acting ruthless to get what he needs to be done. While Brooklyn is a ruthless person, pretending to be nice to get what needs to be done. Where they're this vice versa kind of each other, which I thought was interesting. Kenji actually cares for everyone and Smoothie, while Brooklyn only cares about herself and her mission. And Kenji recognizes that ruthlessness might have scared Sammy, while Brooklyn pretends like it literally isn't her fault. Also, we get Kenji's, I don't know if this is the first time they actually say it says his full name, but it's Kenjamin. I was like, that's a silly name. Whatever. Sorry to all my Kenjamins listening. I was like, why didn't she just tell him the tablet is broken from the beginning? What is her issue with tech and breaking it? She breaks the phone in Camp Cretaceous. Then we get the Dilophosaurus coming in. We get this scene. So this is actually the proper time where I should play it. It's because Kenji suplexed one, and they're like, "You shouldn't do that. You're not supposed to do that. Why are you doing that?" This Dilophosaurus are like, why did you just do that? And so they don't. And I was like, never mind. Kenji moving like a demon over here. Smoothie getting a good hit, hitting it in the eyes. And I was like, Brooklyn plot. Why my friend's angry at me? Boo-hoo, I felt my dad. Meanwhile, like, Kenji, like, all right, Dilophosaurus, let's do this. Let's do this. Straight hands. We get the official first name, Theropod Access, and I was like, that's a pretty sick name. That's a pretty sick name with the whole Theropod training. And then Wu actually being a good dude. Wu going to deal with the locust while he's like, you guys go deal with Theropod Access with the assets still out of containment. So I was like, what are the Access? And then Brooklyn's like, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sorry I've been acting like all mean. I'm like, wow, she's actually admitting that she screwed up? I doubt it. And so they get in a car. They get in Wu's car. They drive off. And they're driving in. And they run into Sammy and Kenji. And now the gang's back together. The Dilophosaurus show up. And they're like, boom, get in that car even faster and drive on out of here. So now they have a car, which I thought was cool. Something has to get rid of the car. You can't give them a car. That makes it too convenient. So everybody's back together. They get into the car. They drive in. They get to a safe place. And they're like, oh, we missed you, whatever. They're like, deja vu, whatever. You get this awkward moment between Sammy and Yaz. Like, will they, won't they? But obviously they will. And you get Kenji at Brooklyn. It's like, will they, won't they? They won't. Kind of obvious to see, but you know, then back in the car, and I was like, why get out? Why roll down the windows? How about you go take care of what you need to? They're like, everyone's back together. And I was like, what about Bumpy? You get the old flames, Die Hard, Sammy and Yaz, Kenji and Brooklyn. Been actually reacting validly to Bumpy and Smoothie, where Kenji's like, Bumpy's here, and he's like, what? We gotta go get Bumpy. And he's like, oh, good, Smoothie's okay. We actually get some reaction, some like character there. And I was making the joke, how dudes hold like the fish on a dating profile. Kenji just needs to be like holding down, like holding a dilo down and holding it by the crest or something. You need to start using that as a pickup line that he posted up with the Dilophosaurus and one, like not one Dilophosaurus, like four for Dilophosaurus. He won a 1v4 with Dilophosaurus. Kenji 1, Ned 0. Ooh. Kenji 1, Lewis Dotson 0. It's like, we've seen 2 people die to Dilophosaurus. Kenji's like, not me. I ain't being that third victim. Brooklyn learns Ben's girlfriend and learns about Ben's girlfriend. She's like, you dog. And about Smoothie for the first time. She's like, oh, I'm actually a jerk. I'm sorry, everybody. Oh, no. Everyone getting caught up. Exposition. They're catching everybody up. And I guess everybody in the audience full on. I was like, old camp fan back? Heck yeah. So if they actually have a car, so they actually just have a car for some of this. The Giga chasing them because you hear this like, or you see the Giga like sniff, and it's like, I know where they're at, kind of thing, if that makes sense. I don't know if that actually makes any sense whatsoever. Where was I? There we go. Then we get Kenji and Sammy should probably mention the Giga or T-Rex, which they don't. They're not like, oh yeah, there's 2 giant theropods now. They just don't, which I thought was kind of stupid. Giga is going to chase them. And I was like, final point, W Kenji, bro was on demon timing. Bro was throwing hands with the Dilophosaurus and winning. Prediction, Giga is going to get rid of the car, and then they're going to run into Bumpy. Maybe Bumpy dies to the Giga because they're really setting up Smoothie connection and kind of nothing with Bumpy at this point. Like, I really thought they might have do something with Bumpy, but I was like, yeah, I doubt it. So now we're on to episode 4. But before we get to episode 4, I'm gonna take a moment. Remember, Gunsmoke and Thunder Lizards is out. You can get it. You can go to the store page on my website. It's right here under the store page. Please go check it out and get your copy. Feel free to do an episode on it if you have a thing that you review on. Feel free to talk about it, share it with your friends. Just get it. I had a lot of fun with this, and I hope you guys all have a lot of fun reading it. But, yep, back to everything. So now we're into episode 4. We get Sammy and Yaz flirting the whole time, and it's like, will they, won't they? But obviously they will. Then we see an outpost for the first time, and I was like, is that the same outpost from Dominion? Is there one outpost? I don't really remember. But, of course, there isn't. Of course, they hear some crap in the distance, and Kenji's just like, I'll go investigate this. We got this. We got this. But then Brooklyn and Darius are like, we'll get it, Kenji. You stay here and make sure. And I was like, Kenji and Darius out alone? Uh-oh, what are they setting up? Why aren't they creeping? The dinosaurs can just, like they do this all the like sneaking around. It's like, why are you creeping? The dinosaurs can just smell you. We've already, like, established this several times. Why does it matter? I get the whole, like, being silent, but, like, you drove up in a car. If it didn't hear that and wasn't alerted by that, you creeping around won't really do much. We get Brooklyn like, I'm sorry I've been so rude, Darius. Wow. And hugs them, and Darius like, I need time, whatever. And I told you I love you. I didn't mean it, whatever. Then I was like, it seems like they're really speed running Brooklyn's like character here. So I was like, is she playing them? Is she playing Darius? And then everybody comes out. They come into the outpost, and you see Owen's plane fly over with the Quetzalcoatlus flying after it. So canonically, it's happening the same day. They're checking the thing. It's just like a plant place, like a greenhouse kind of thing. They're like, maybe it's a secret lever. They're like knocking on stuff, and Smoothie's mocking with the tapping with his little club tail. And Smoothie tapping his little tail on the ground was just honestly really, really cute. You get Yaz and Sammy they just need to kiss and get it over with, get them back together already, because they're like this close to each other. Oh, and then Smoothie's like, and kind of stops and makes him giggle and laugh and all that. was like, maybe this isn't the same one as in Dominion, whatever. We get to see Pachyrhinosaurus, and I was like, cool, Pachyrhinosaurus cameo. Brooklyn having to choose what man, because they have like this whole thing between her and Kenji and Darius. It was really weird. But then I was like, oh, maybe the Giga's going to bust out and fight these Pachyrhinosaurus. Nope, T-Rex did. And then kind of scares them off. They drive off. Fights the Pachyrhinosaurus, whatever. And it's just not chasing them. I was like, why isn't Rex chasing them? Obviously, the Giga. They get a flat tire. Something punctures the tire. Kenji doesn't want to be with Brooklyn because Ben's like, hey, you two should stop and change the tire. Dude, no, stop it. It's like Ben is not being helpful there. Sammy and Yaz back together finally because they're like, we're gonna race you. And Ben's like, oh, it's a 2-person race. Then Darius is like, oh, I see what you're talking about, Ben. We should still hurry though, which I thought was actually genuinely funny. Like a genuinely funny moment. Then you have Brooklyn and Kenji doing this like weird flirt thing with Brooklyn kind of leading it. And they make a joke. They make some jokes. She's like, this car gets the boot. It's a British car humor. I'm like, the only thing I can think of is a car boot, which I can only think of a car boot. So I was like, what do you mean British car humor? I mean, American car boots, I mean, that's a real thing too. I don't know. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Then they have the whole thing. I was like, maybe Kenji's going to go for it. And then, yeah, no, Kenji actually a really, really good character. We actually has development where he's like, I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad because I deserve to be not angry anymore. And I was like, it's like the don't apologize because they deserve an apology. Apologize because you deserve to live in forgiveness. Or something along those lines. Kind of moment. And I was like, dang, he's actually getting like to be a really well-developed character. Hella character development. And then Kenji recognizing the quiet as a bad thing is actually a huge W because I was like, oh yeah, we're setting something up. Now, what did they run from? Obviously, it was the Giga. Giga attacking another outpost. This thing is really able to just reach up to these things. They should probably build them higher and more stable if that's what they're going to do. Car is still fine, though. And then they have Sammy and Yaz still up, and then they got to get them. They just straight up make a gasoline Molotov cocktail. I was like, geez, Ben, talk about he's like, let's light it up. And I'm like, okay, bro, you go for it. So they throw it and they do it. The Giga bites the lighter like in Dominion. Fire on Dominion, agitating it. Giga is fast. It chases after them. It keeps up. They run over the Giga's toes back into a thing. I don't like that hiding in a bush would help. I don't think hiding in a bush can help. It can smell you. And then like the way it's like sniffing the ground and then it just like looks right up at the car, but like the camera's at the car angle. So the Giga is just looking right at the car. I was like, I would be crapping myself. Like, no, that was horrifying. Heck nah. And then it's like we actually get accurate third-party eyesight. It just like sees the car and starts walking and creeping towards it. It creeps over horrifyingly. Plot convenience Rexy again, coming to save the day for the win, coming and rescuing, biting the Giga, throwing it into the water. Wish we saw more of the water fight. Then they go drive off. They get to the other computer or the files outpost. And they're like, there's no central terminal. Why? Why is there no central terminal? That seems like the stupidest thing, though. They give the Giga tooth to the Gigantosaurus tooth to Darius. And like, maybe you can make another necklace. And I was like, cool, subtle foreshadowing and callback. And then Brooklyn drops the line. If apologizing to you is that easy, why did she say that to Kenji? Because he was immediately like, ew, why did you say that? Like, why would you ever say that? That's just such a weird thing to say. You get this like Sammy just like from across the room looking at Yaz and just like the back at Yaz. It's like, why did she do that? She's just hating to hate at that point. She just on the game. They don't truly trust Brooklyn. More Atrociraptor training lore is pretty sick. We get to see some footage of it. Why would they only have one backup, which I thought was pretty stupid? Why wouldn't Dodgson also have like theropod access on a different thumb drive or something? They delete it. They delete the files and like, oh, this is anticlimactic. So they push it out of the entire outpost, which is I feel like is the most abhorrent way to get rid of that. And they set it on fire. And I was like, cool. They burned it, which I think would attract something. We get this Brooklyn saying we, and I was like, didn't do nothing. We get the Quetz foreshadowing. It like flies over or whatever. We get the final point. My final point. There has to be something more to this, but we're already halfway through this season. We still have the Locust plot and Kenji on the cover of 8, so maybe he's not going to die until 9 or very last episode. Prediction. The Quetz is going to destroy the car. It was hinted at the end of last episode. Yep. The Quetz is going to show up. So now we move on to episode 5. Yep, it was the Quetz. It shows up. Quetz looks so cool, just landing on the building, perched up. Eye over the top window was horrifying. The beak piercing was pretty cool. 3 strongest member to lift the cabinet. We got Yaz, Kenji, and Ben. Yaz being the track star or whatever. Kenji just being on demon time, and then Ben just being buff. Then they're like, go find the file on Bumpy. Why was Sam, I don't have time to coach you through this whenever Brooklyn's like, oh, which terminals have you checked so I know not to check those? What, Sammy? I get you don't like Brooklyn. I get it. She's a meanie. She's a weenie. Whatever. You're just hating to be annoying at that point. That actually moment made me really just mad at Sammy. Quetz doesn't care about the flashlight, what I thought was hilarious because that's what they're used to. It's more pure DNA or whatever. They use the prod to get the attention when I was like, heck yeah. Sammy's hate is actually getting in the way, I said. And then they hear a roar in the distance, and I was like, why? What made the Quetz stop and look? Probably Giga. Creeping to tower over them is scary because it was like they were like standing on the edge and it just looks down at them. I was like, It used its long neck to try to follow them in one spot, which I thought was pretty cool. They used the Trent gun for the win. That actually makes sense that it's there. They shoot it like 3 times and it still doesn't pass out. I'm like, up the dosage in those darts if it's not doing anything. Jeez. Darius using his DPW training for the win. And then they get in the car and another Quetz flies. I'm assuming it's another Quetz because they shot the other one with 3 Trank darts and I'm assuming it passed out. But so another one, I'm assuming, comes and picks up the truck or the car they're in. And then after a while, it lifts the car and I was like, that's a strong pterosaur. And it drops it. And I was like, someone should have died or been seriously injured. They got some luck. Oh, nope, never mind. Landed in a tree. How lucky. Kenji keeping his cool in the scene was really using that rock climbing knowledge was awesome because he was like, I got this, guys. We got to get up to get down. Y'all got to follow. Sammy getting real pissy kind of out of nowhere. But at least reasonable because Brooklyn's like, it's good to have climb with boy Kenji. And Sammy's like, game? And I'm like, dude, Sammy, your hate has literally been unproductive. At least the others are productive with crap. And then I love the like, all right, D, you're up first, and everybody looks at Darius. He's like, "What you mean I'm up first?" I thought that was pretty funny. You and then you get they all get up, some climb down, and you get Sammy. She reaches across, grabs the steering wheel, and turns. I'm like, why would you ever think it's a good idea to grab the steering wheel, you idiot? What? And then they're like, I can't get out because the car shifts slow. I can't do that. And he's like, the other side of the car. It's 2 doors, you doofus. Even I was like, the other side. Duh. Then they have the I can do it. Yes, you can. When I was like, Jesus, so stupid. I like how the car landed conveniently between 3 trees. They had Sammy fall, and of course Brooklyn had to save her. So she's like, "See, I'm still on your side." And then they had them all climb down. I was like, for real, Kenji was just amazing up there. They're using his character was great in this. Ben feeling left out, but respecting Kenji is so real because of all the saving stuff. All the dudes being hella fatherly to Smoothie because they're all like, "Oh, yeah, Smoothie's safe," and all this, and they're making jokes and telling stories. Like, and then they had Sammy. Why is Sammy being the difficult one? Like, it makes sense. She is super friendly one and the most trusting, so it's probably like that. But she's just like being unreasonably. I don't know what you can do to make me friendly again. It's like, what about her boyfriend that she literally dumped and go faked her death? Whatever. I really was feeling like Brooklyn was scheming something, but I guess she wasn't. They make jokes about Kenji's mustache. And the car falls back down. And it starts honking. And I was like, it's going to alert the Giga. And then at this point, they were like, oh, what do we do? What do we do? And I was like, just the whole time, turn off the horn. Turn off the horn. Turn off the horn. Turn off the horn. Turn off. Go. Do it. And then finally, Ben tried to act, turning it off. We get Sinoceratops, Stegosaurus, Gallimimus cameos, which I thought was cool. They better not use that car because the suspension would be crapped on because it fell out of a tree. And, of course, they don't. And it gets flipped onto Darius, and it had the hello convenient little hole in the back to land over Darius, which I was like, cool. Pseudoceratops cameo was pretty cool. Sinoceratops acting like a rhino. I like that. The horn on the car, of course, it conveniently finally dies when Brooklyn tries to honk it. And I was like, then Brooklyn gets on the car because it's all the dinosaurs are charging at people. And she's like, I saw this nasty yell by Brooklyn. And then Ben W. Man for saving Brooklyn, just tackling her off the car when she's like, I'll let myself die. I'll let myself die for y'all to prove myself. And then Ben's like, there's a reasonable, you're going to kill yourself after we finally get you back. Reasonable crash out by Ben. Brooklyn crying. I was like, she's like, I'm so sorry. And then they have the Stegosaurus swipe and hit Ben in the gut. And at this point, I was like, oh, shoot. He goes flying, hits a tree, and I was like, did Ben just die? Did he tank a Thagomizer blow to the gut? Holy shit, what's going to happen to Ben? Final thoughts. Holy shit, is Ben going to be okay? Also, Monolophosaurus and Dimorphodon cameo in this episode. I forgot to mention those. Prediction, they're going to have to stitch him up somehow. I don't know at this point. I don't think he is dead. Frick. Then we get to episode 6, but before that, huge shout out to today's sponsor, Dinosaur Trips. If you enjoy these majestic creatures I talk about here on the podcast and would like to go see them for yourself, I would heavily recommend Dinosaur Trips. Dinosaur Trips is a company created to give people a behind-the-scenes in-look on museums and dig sites, along with just having an amazing time looking at these amazing, fabulous, majestic creatures. So If you sound interested, go to www.dinosaurtrips.com and tell them Prehistoric Life sent you and get $250 off your tickets. Now, back to the show. So we start off episode 6 with showing that he tanked the Thagomizer blow, which I was like, damn, dude, that's some crazy endurance. And it has like part of the Thagomizer logged in him. And I was like, I think he'll be fine. Good. They actually used the don't pull the knife out thing because they're like, don't pull it out. It's stopping and slowing the bleeding, which is like a real world thing. You're not supposed to just pull whatever is lodged in you out because then you just start gushing blood. We get a Sticky Mullet cameo because that was the first dino been saved in this series, I think, because from Bobby Newblock, which I thought was cool. They're going to take Ben to the vet facility. I think he'll be fine. It's about to be sunset, which I was like, ooh, we're getting somewhere. Giga was alerted. Yaz and Ben moment unintentionally where Giga was alerted. You hear in the background roaring. We get a Yaz and Ben moment where they're like, no, unintentionally funny of her pointing with no arm, which I thought was rude and screwed up. But and I was like, WTF, do you mean we have to move him? Dude, what are you going to – you're going to leave him? He's like, we have to – they were like, we have to move him? It's like, you're going to just leave him out in the open for the predators? And then you get Yaz kisses Ben's forehead because this whole time I was like, Yaz and Ben would have made a better couple in my opinion the whole time. And Ben's going to have a solid feeling about that. And it's finally getting dark out there, carrying him. Yaz comforting Sammy was interesting because of her whole character. The fire has been lit. They see the swarm and has been started. Has been started. The flaming, burning locust is a horrifying, or staring at the flaming, burning locust is a horrifying scene where it's beautiful. The fire has been lit. We get the Therizinosaurus entrance for the first time where it's standing in the smoke and the fire and it's just like clicking and crap. I was like, oh, that's cool. It lumbering in the background is almost a demonic look, which was awesome. The claws on they keep with the blind thing, which I thought was cool. They make it into the vet facility and it raking its claws across the glass was awesome in my opinion and horrifying. The theory is done so good in this. I loved it. I loved seeing more of it. Ben is probably in shock and focusing on one goal of finding Bumpy because that was kind of its whole moment. I need to reunite Smoothie and Bumpy. But apparently not. He's just fine. He can just tank Thagomizer blows, apparently. Brooklyn needs to just stop with the surprise the whole time because she's like, what? Me? Go with who? It's like, dude, just cut it out. It's just done too much. And then Yaz is like, I'm going to stay with Ben, keep him company. But I was like, maybe he won't make it. I can't see what kind of dinosaurs they are. They don't count because they go into the back of that room to try to find Bumpy. They have all these dinosaurs and pins and things. So I'm like, I can't see them. They don't count. Cool. Whatever. Hey, Sammy, this ain't the time to do a big apology speech and long hug because they're her and Brooklyn talking in the back. Long hug. I'm like, your friend is dying in the other room. Go help him. Seriously, why is everything empty? Like, why is everything in the vet facility empty? They had no supplies there. Ben's real for his goals of wanting to reunite Smoothie and thing. Ben feeling cold probably from blood loss at this point. Yaz really having a moment with Ben. What's going to happen here? Seriously, Yaz and Ben would have been such a power couple. They actually said, I love you to each other. They finally getting to see Bumpy come out and comfort Ben. Ben is still steadily losing blood. WTF, do something already because they're all just like standing and talking. And, oh, Bumpy's back. Yeah, he's still bleeding out. Ben is still bleeding out. Okay, he's still dying. Somebody do something. It's like, oh, yeah, Smoothie and Bumpy are so cute. Cute. Now help Ben. What are y'all doing? And then an alarm goes off, of course. Final thoughts. Why haven't they helped Ben yet? he's still bleeding out. Prediction: the alarm is for the dinosaurs to go into the valley where the Giga and Rexy fight. So then we get to episode 7. But before we jump to episode 7,
if you follow my account, you probably like dinosaurs, fossils in the prehistoric world. And if you have ever shopped for fossils, you'll see that a lot of them have some very high prices, rightfully so, because they are usually one-of-a-type specimen. Then you go look for casts, and you see a lot of these low-quality casts going around, so you just don't know what to do. You either have to buy something super expensive or something super low quality. Enter dinosaur skeletons. Dinosaur Skeletons specializes in creating museum-quality replicas of prehistoric life and is renowned for its highly detailed reconstructions. Founded by a professional paleo artist with over a decade of experience in the collectibles industry, they are dedicated to providing enthusiasts, collectors, and institutions with the opportunity to own magnificent, lifelike prehistoric replicas. Each creation is crafted with exceptional care and attention to detail. This means they are highly accurate to their source material, super high quality, and museum grade level quality. This is probably the closest you could get to bringing home a museum exhibit. They're also fairly affordable for the accuracy and quality put into it, which also means they make great gifts for birthdays and holidays for that collector or dinosaur enthusiast you know. So go check out Dinosaur Skeletons and get your cast today.
So then we start out with episode 7. The fire has erupted. Everything's on fire. Suchomimus cameo. Hell yeah, we get to see Suchomimus in the background. I still don't exactly understand why the main headquarters would be where you would shove all the dinosaurs, because that's also where all the people are. So that kind of seems like it would lead to a lot of casualties. That's like herding 100 tigers into your visitor center. Like, yeah, maybe the people are evacuated, but like, what if everybody doesn't get evacuated? That seems like you just, anybody there, you're just like, all right, you're going to die. Cool. They're finally helping Ben and patching him up. What is going on between Yaz and Ben? Because they're really acting like real close in that scene. All the dinosaurs are released in the back area. We get a Beckliospinax cameo, Baryonyx cameo, Baby Brachiosaurus cameo. In normal behavior of dinosaur travel, the dinosaurs are all chipped, but only like halfway somehow. I don't get it. Bumpy conveniently unchipped, or it's malfunctioning, and it kind of keeps them all docile enough to get them in. Maybe focus on Ben, because they're talking about all this other stuff. Finally got Ben stitched up. Ben is a tough cookie. Using Ben Bumpy as a stretcher is actually a really good idea, but they just had a hard time getting him up to onto Bumpy. Just have everybody lift you up onto Bumpy. I really don't know about that. Kenji being stern, the stern fist of reason. So Ben and Yaz, a thing, kind of. Kenji being, where Yaz is like, I'll stay with him. Kenji's like, no, I got this. You go. I got some hands to throw. So everybody else kind of splits off, does their own thing. Kenji being the stone warrior to stay with Ben. Does Yaz know something we don't? Because she's really acting like he's going to die. Brooklyn really seeming manipulative, even if unintentionally. She like goes in another room, immediately breaks it. What's in the last pin? Dilophosaurus, that smoothie hit in the eye, which I thought was actually really cool. A really cool Dilophosaurus design, where we get to finally see it. We finally get to see this Dilophosaurus a little bit more up close, where he's got like an eye patch. We finally get to see it kind of up close. Got this eye patch, got the crest. It's just a cool look. I'm really glad we got to see more of Dilophosaurus. I'm just happy about that in general. And it's Ben and Kenji left. It was Ben and Kenji left behind. Imagine if Yaz stayed behind. Ben and Yaz would have died. So it's a good thing Kenji stayed behind. We get Triceratops cameo, having to lure Bumpy with berries. Shout out for that. Bumpy posting up to a Brachiosaurus was hilarious. Bumpy being tough to carry on because they give it smoothie. Darius landing on Brooklyn and her looking at him. Yeah, they're probably going to be a thing by the end of this. They weren't. Because it was the Therizinosaurus and Darius. Brooklyn just freezes and like, oh, big dinosaur about to kill me, and somebody has to save her. So I was like, she needs to just stop doing that. Theory casually swiping down a Parasaurolophus was cool. I like, since it's blind, it acts on like other senses like smell and sound, which I thought was cool. You think all the smoke would affect its smelling capability, but apparently not. It's like swiping at him, trying to track him down. Brooklyn gets hit in the head with a log. Oh, and then it looks at him, and they have to do all this thing. But then we get the distant T-Rex roar to lure it away. We probably won't get to see the Rex v Giga v Theory fight. The dinosaurs having to go through water seems like a bad idea to get into the thing. I get it, I guess, but it really seems like some of your smaller ones might get stepped on and drown very easily, and you lose a lot of assets that way, but whatever. Ernest coming to the win with the Dimetrodon that's like right there with Darius and Brooklyn. Ernest for the win. There's 3 other survivors, Ernest and 2 others. Ernest figuring out Brooklyn is manipulative, stealing the wristband. Darius finally seeing she's truly sorry, apologizing to Ernest. I like how just new Ben is Habanero because they used the alias. And they're like, yeah, Ben is, oh, no, Habanero. I like how they just do that. I was like, aren't there dilos in the tunnels? Because they're all talking about going in the Hyperloop tunnels. And they're in the Hyperloop tunnels. How does no one recognize the Nuclear 6? I asked that again. Ernest asking Brooklyn out is crazy. Ernest is still kind of a dumbass. Then we get the dilos are coming for Ben and Kenji. So you got Ben left out there, kind of doing whatever. You get them having a moment. Oh, yeah. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's so sad. They actually have a moment, kind of having a real moment. Ben's upset, Kenji, because he thinks everybody has to be too real with him and everything. So has to help Ben up. Kenji facing off against 4 Dilophosaurs. Scar Eye saw them and wanted revenge. Yeah. You get them, they see them, whatever, they get out. And then Sammy and Yaz. Yaz looks like she's straight up being eaten in the background. Triceratops goes, and she's just holding it off. They get them off. They save Yaz and Sammy. We get Kenji saying hold both of them. So I was like, maybe Ben or Kenji and Darius are going to die. That's crazy. I was like, yeah, Ben is cooked. The Triceratops surround the car. And then we get another really sick scene where we see T-Rex standing in the shadows. The Triceratops look over, and it's just standing there, watching them. The lightning flashes, and you see some light. This is awesome. I love this. I love this T-Rex just watching. It was so cool. I loved it. T-Rex for the win. It's like the end of JP, Jurassic Park. T-Rex got an aura farm real quick. T-Rex got a taste of violence. It comes out, it bursts through and attacks the Atrociraptors and starts taking them out. And I was like, aren't there other T-Rexes? Rex hits the car. Rex hit the car with Ben inside. Is he okay? T-Rex for the win. Darius and Kenji not in the car. They have to run through the battlefield. And then Darius is like, you go on. I was like, what is Darius planning? Did the Atrociraptors really knock over the T-Rex? They tackle the T-Rex down and they're like about to kill it. And it called the other Rexes. There's 2 other Rexes that burst out. We see them at the end of Dominion. We know they're there. And they start killing the Atrociraptors. And I was like, Tyrant Lizard King for the win. T-Rex gang up. So that does beg the question, where were the other Tyrannosauruses during the big Giga fight? Why didn't any of them just team up on the Gigantosaurus? They clearly aren't against teaming up because they team up to kill all the Atrociraptors, which I thought was a little goofy. They got some really good driving skills to navigate through this battlefield and get in this little elevator thingy outside or inside the thing, and they leave. They get the T-Rex eye through the window scene again, which is pretty cool. The Rex have the cornered. Really slow door to get one last view of the Rexes roaring and killing the Atrociraptors. I was like, is Ben alive? Yes, he's still alive. We cool. They confirm it. They make it to the airstrip right in the nick of time, probably just missing the other main group from Dominion. So it does seem Ben is alive and in proper medical thing. They're like, yeah, it's going to be a miracle if he makes it. They put the thing on it. Did Ben really just die in med hands? Kenji going with Ben was pretty cool. They're like, we can only fit one other. Somebody should go. Kenji goes. It's like, is Ben cooked? Are they just going to say he dies on the operating table? I hope not. I really thought that was lazy. They got some other people like, we need to go back in there and do whatever with all the dinosaurs. And then all of them are like, we know that. Look, Darius. And Darius is like, we got to go help the dinosaurs, jumping right back into the frying pan. Jesus, Darius, your friend you assumed he just died. Darius is just like, let's go do this. Which I thought was kind of out of character, but whatever. And I was like, Darius going to right into the fire. I'm like, at this point, there's only 7 minutes left. It fades to white. We get cut to Darius's cabin, and or they're driving to Darius's cabin with Kenji and Darius. Kenji is like, oh, pronounce Gigantosaurus or whatever. He's like, he actually pronounces, he says Giganotosaurus. I'm going to end this now.
Gigantosaurus.
It's pronounced Gigantosaurus.
Gigantosaurus.
Gigant. I'm
Gigantosaurus.
I'm seeing Gigantosaurus. I'm hearing Gigantosaurus. It is not pronounced Giga. So I don't even know anymore. So I was like, so is Ben dead? They pull up with coffees. Everybody's staying in his little place. Well, Kenji was. Everybody else was doing whatever. Kenji was staying at Darius's place for a while. Whatever. I was like, how is Kenji still this dull after all this time? Because they make a joke. Kenji's been living in his cabin. Everyone gets a new look. Of course they do. Henry is working with them. Henry Wu is I guess just around somewhere doing locust stuff, I guess. Of course she got a robot arm and lost the blue hair. Darius has pics of Smoothie and Bumpy and the other Ankylosaurus because he was doing relief aid and he's showing it to Kenji. Of course, your parents don't understand why you fake your death and disappear off the face of the earth. To them, they're kind of rightfully upset because Brooklyn's like, yeah, my parents are still upset with me that I faked my death. Oh shit, Sherlock. Gigatooth necklace was pretty cool. Brooklyn is not the victim here. So Bison is doing a rebuild. Is she really back for good? I'm going to say no. You see Ben's beanie on a table. Ben's girlfriend shows up in all black in a black car. So it's like, was there a funeral? What happened? And then Ben gets out. Ben shows up, and I was like, oh, cool. So he's alive. So is anybody going to die? They add a ramp in for him in the cabin, and he's like, you don't have to do this, because he's in a wheelchair because, he got impaled by a thagomizer. And tanked it, which is insane, even though he probably should be dead. Whatever. Kenji becoming a brother with both dudes, which is cool. He's got like this now relationship with Darius and Ben. Ben died. Ben did die for a second, and I was like, God damn it, BS. That's what this led to, was him dying on the operator table for a second. Really? That's what this led to? And then we get Pachyrhinosaurus getting one last cameo in the end, because they're like, oh, he's got heart medication because he actually died for a second. Such lazy writing, in my opinion, but hey, who am I? Who am I to say what's lazy and what's not? So my final thoughts, the ending where he died on the operating table and we don't see anything is such BS. It's almost like a show like this can't handle the concept of loss in any way, because God forbid they actually handle grieving and loss and make a permanent change. Any emotional struggle that happened throughout that, with Ben assuming that he was going to die or thinking he was going to die, was utterly worthless at the end, because he amounted to absolutely nothing. He didn't have to die, but you really led us to think he was going to die. So we already just assume he was dead. So I wouldn't say it's utterly worthless. I will retake that back. Worthless at the end because he amounted to absolutely nothing. He was fine and everybody was fine. Everybody got a happy ending. And I get this is supposed to be maybe for younger kids or younger audience, so you can't do that. But I'm still going to call BS on that, because there are shows that are for kids that I remember growing up on with that actually handling the concept of loss, where somebody did die permanently. They killed somebody off and had to deal with the consequences of that. I think the fact that modern shows can't handle with that is kind of depressing, because there is a heavy topic. There's a heavy topic there that everybody is unified with, because at some point they will have to deal with it, whether they enjoy it or not. A good example of this is the Never-Ending Story. It is geared towards kids, but handles loss and depression in the answer to that very well. And so the whole this ending just kind of peed me off a little. We assume Ben was dead. You're really playing up like Ben was supposed to die. He just doesn't know. I died on the operating table for a second. It's like, dude. It's like, God forbid any show like this have permanent change. So my final thoughts on this show. I really enjoyed the season finale up until the ending. I know it's probably goofy of me to say that I didn't like the ending because Ben should have died. Corporate meddling crap with Rebirth and the black guy that's supposed to die to the D-Rex, and now Ben. It's like, what is going on? Just, you can kill characters off. It's actually more entertaining if you have them have to like respond to death. If somebody has to actually respond to death, you get more character development, more like drama and crap. You get a deeper story, but God forbid they actually do that. It's frustrating. I did enjoy it, though. It was a really good series. I'm really glad that we got to see more from the Quetzalcoatl and the Gigantosaurus. I'm really glad about that. But before we sign off here, remember, Prehistoric Live is up, and you can get your tickets now. I really hope you all enjoyed this episode. Go get your tickets for Prehistoric Live Monday 1st and 2nd, 2026. I'm your host, Eric Crawford. This has been Prehistoric Life Podcast. Remember, you can check me out on Instagram, my website, and you can go support the Patreon. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. That was my breakdown and thoughts on Chaos Theory season 4. I think we're on 4, not 5. I don't really remember. I think this is 4. But yeah, remember, like, subscribe, leave a comment. What was your favorite part of season 4? And that is all from me for right now. Have a good afternoon, morning, evening, or night. I'm your host, Eric Crawford, signing off. This has been Prehistoric Life Podcast. And remember, keep it prehistoric. Goodbye.